Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And glad to have on with us today in this segment of the Newsmaker Show, Judge Matthew McCarthy of Corning. Judge McCarthy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
Well, Judge McCarthy, you're the currently acting Steuben County Court judge and a Corning City judge. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I was elected 4 years ago here in Corning to be the full-time Corning City Court judge, replacing Dave Kale, who had been a judge here for many years, very well respected. And upon winning that election, I was actually appointed to be an acting county and family court judge up in Bath, as well as an acting Hornell City Court judge. And so the role that I was elected to here in Corning quickly expanded to include the roles of a county court judge and a family court judge up in Bath. And it's just a fantastic job, and I really enjoy doing it.
Now, Judge McCarthy, you well, tell us what made you want to get into the race and why you believe you're the candidate for the job.
Well, what really made me want to get into the race this year is my experience over the last 4 years. So having been a full-time judge, seeing the cases that come through the court system, both here in Corning as well as in Hornell, and especially up in the family court and county court, I've had the opportunity to really impact people's lives in different fashions through family court. It's very difficult. It's a very heavy caseload. So when I was up there doing that job for the last couple of years, I realized that this turnover was taking place with our former judges, Judge Furfer, Judge Latham, and Judge Bradstreet, and realized that the court system was changing. And so I thought to be part of the solution to that problem, the best thing for me to do would be to gain that experience, to work very hard at it, and then to throw my hat in the ring this year to be the next county court judge replacing Judge Bradstreet. So I feel that experience really sets me apart. I'm the only person who has that experience running for the position, and at the end of this year, I will be the longest tenured full-time judge in Steuben County. So I believe I'd be able to provide some insight and some help even to the other judges who currently fill those roles.
Judge Matthew McCarthy with us in this segment of the Newsmaker Show. Judge McCarthy, what do you feel makes a good judge? What temperament-wise, what makes a good judge?
Well, I can tell you that we've had fantastic judges here in Steuben County. The example that was set by Judge Latham, Judge Furfer, and Judge Bradstreet with respect to their judicial temperament, their work ethic, and their knowledge of the law was exemplary. And we also had Judge Scudder, who recently retired, who oversaw such a large portion of the judicial section of Western New York to be a guidepost for the rest of us. And these individuals really set a standard that is very difficult to live up to and very big shoes to fill. So when I look at what makes a good judge, I've had the excellent opportunity to work with those judges over the last 3.5 years, as well as appearing before them for well over 10 years prior to that, and getting to know them. They really, as well as the other attorneys, we have some fantastic attorneys in this area that have really helped me along the way. But that judicial temperament, you really hit the nail on the head when you said that word, because the courtroom is a very complicated place where you see people on some of their worst days and their most trying days and darkest days, dealing with losses of family or drug addiction or criminal charges. And so to be able to act in a fashion where you are calm, respective of their positions, as well as the attorneys who are appearing before you, to make sure that they understand their voice is being heard and that they have someone on the bench who is going to be knowledgeable of the law, but also compassionate to their clients, is something that is just crucial. So I think that word judicial temperament is really a key to what makes a great judge.
Now, you're a 1997 graduate of Avoca?
Yes, the Tigers.
All righty. And tell us about your college and law school experience.
Well, I went to St. Bonaventure University, so go Bonas as well as the Tigers. I actually absolutely loved St. Bonaventure University. It was a fantastic place to attend. I formed lifelong bonds with folks there that I'm able to still stay in contact with, and really, when you're at a college, what you're hoping for is that diversity where you're able to see other people's views and respect their opinions. And that really started, prior to law school for me at St. Bonaventure, where we had a lot of different people from different parts of the country. So that was fantastic. And then I attended Albany Law School, and I really enjoyed going to Albany as well. It's a wonderful city as long as you don't get tied up too much in those state politics.
You said it. We're talking this morning with Judge Matthew McCarthy, who's running for the Judge Peter Bradstreet seat in Steuben County Court, and there's going to be a primary coming up this Thursday between Judge McCarthy and Bath Village Justice Chauncey Watches. So, other bio information. I see that you worked in the DA's office.
I did. I worked. I was hired by John Tunney in the district attorney's office. I worked in that office for just about 8 years. It was a fantastic experience to work for Mr. Tunney, and then after Mr. Tunney retired, to work for Mr. Baker, who's our current district attorney. And again, that afforded me the opportunity to go out into a lot of the local courts, deal with the justice courts, as well as handle some of the city courts in front of Judge Damrath, who again served Hornell so well over the years. And a lot of these local courts where you have attorneys you have judges who are not attorneys, but they really know their communities, and you're able to go there and learn from them. And quite honestly, I worked alongside an individual who was an attorney out of Canisteo, Ed Degnan, who taught me a great deal, who unfortunately passed away recently. But working with attorneys who had the years of experience like Ed Degnan and the other local attorneys who now have been able to hand down that knowledge has just been so crucial to me. So I'm forever grateful to the defense attorneys who are on the other side for me, as well as John Tunney and Brooks Baker for giving me the opportunity to serve Steuben County as an assistant district attorney.
And, the sorts of cases that'll come before you, for those of you who may not have heard, this is a question I asked Judge Chauncey Watches the other day when he was on Newsmaker. What are the kinds of cases that will come up before you, and the kinds of cases that came up for the man whose position you're running for there, Judge Peter Bradstreet?
Well, the cases right now, because I am currently the Corning City Court judge as well as the acting Hornell and County and Family Court judge, the cases I handle are a wide variety. So very similar to what Judge Watches handles out of the village and town of Bath. Here in the city of Corning, I handle the misdemeanors. I handle the preliminary matters with respect to felonies, preliminary hearings, things of that nature, civil cases. In the cities, the limits are a little higher than what can be sought in the town and village courts, so it's a little bit different. But overall, it's a fairly equates pretty easily with what across the board happens in local town and village courts. What's happened with being the acting county and family court judge is it's afforded me the opportunity to handle the exact types of cases that Judge Bradstreet currently handles as our county court judge. So I've handled felonies, major cases. I've been the county drug court judge now for the past year, dealing with the alternatives to incarceration for people in our area who are suffering from addiction. I also handle thousands of family court matters over the last several years, everything from abuse, neglect, to child custody cases. The most difficult cases that come before the judges in this area, I have handled those for the last 4 years.
And you always have to be careful when you're an interviewer and you're asking judges questions. Not that you're going to end up in a courtroom because you get in trouble, but you do have to be careful the way you ask questions in terms of what questions can he answer and what questions can he not answer. So I'll be careful on how I phrase this. The heroin problem has gotten to be quite the situation all over the state and all over the country. Heroin and fentanyl and whatnot. Do we see an increase in those sorts of cases in the courts in Steuben County, Judge?
We have over the last several years, it's exploded, and honestly, what the public sees is just a small portion, because very often what the public sees is the arrests that are taking place by law enforcement agencies, which our law enforcement is doing everything they possibly can to battle this epidemic with limited resources. So what we have here in Steuben County, outside of just what you see in the newspaper with law enforcement arrests, is really reflected a great deal in the Child Protective and Department of Social Services. We are seeing an explosion in numbers of our cases involving abuse, neglect, involving parents, and also child custody cases involving parents and grandparents, based upon the fact that these people are suffering from addiction. We have very limited resources here. If anybody watches the debate between Andrew Cuomo and Miss Nixon, I don't believe Western New York was mentioned in that debate at all, because again, we're often forgotten out here in Western New York and Steuben County. So what we do is we make do with less here. We work hard. We double down on what we can do for folks, working with Steuben County Alcohol and Substance Abuse, working with the drug treatment courts, working with counseling, working with Department of Social Services to really try to find those individuals who are in need of our help and help them accordingly. And then, as the folks do see in the newspaper, there's the other side of that, who are the people who are bringing the poisons into our community. And our district attorney's office and public defender's office, are overwhelmed with the number of cases that are being put before them. And again, they're having to make do with less. And it's very unfortunate that we have such limited resources when we're still dealing with such a major, major problem.
A lot of people in law enforcement and in the legislature and judges in law enforcement, they're very quick to point out the difference between a drug dealer who's selling purely to make money and doesn't use themselves versus the drug dealer who's an addict and is selling in order to keep their addiction going. Wondering, in the courts in Steuben County, from your understanding, Judge McCarthy, what's it like these days in terms of how many drug dealers, how often do you see the drug dealers who are not addicts? I would think most of them around here would be addicts too, and they're just trying to come up with enough money to buy the next bag of heroin. But and especially those heroin and fentanyl cases, is it often that you'll run into a drug dealer who's just purely ruthless and is just out to make a buck and does not have an addiction problem themselves?
Well, they obviously exist, and quite honestly, having dealt with this and having been in the DA's office prior to becoming a judge, what we saw, 10, 12, 13 years ago in this area was the explosion of crack cocaine. And so the crack cocaine, honestly, was more of that situation. It wasn't folks who were selling crack cocaine to feed their addiction. It was people from outside of the area who were coming here to make a dollar and to really poison our community with crack cocaine. What we have now, and heroin is catching the headlines in our area, and obviously it's terrible. You pick up a paper and you look in the obituary and you see these young people who are dying of sudden deaths and unrelated death. It's ridiculous, the number of good people that we've lost to addiction and families who suffer. But what we also have in this area is methamphetamine. It has really exploded again. It's made a huge comeback in our area. And so the methamphetamine, it's kind of an interesting situation that we see, is we're seeing folks who are heroin addicts who are working with methamphetamine manufacturers who are trading off on Sudafed for heroin and vice versa. And so it is almost it's developed into almost a barter system in our community of drug addiction for people feeding whatever habit they might have. But more often than not, when we're dealing with our local, I hate to say it this way, but I guess our homegrown drug dealers, very often they are the ones who are also feeding a habit. And so it's very difficult to separate those folks who are, again, in need of help and treatment, and those people who really need to be in state prison or jail because of their actions. And so, again, it's crucial with a public defender's office that's overwhelmed with numbers and a DA's office that's overwhelmed with numbers to make sure that we have a judge there who's able to keep these cases on track, who's able to look at the situation, who has the background, the experience, and the knowledge to separate those, again, who are in need from those who need to be treated harshly, and that's such a crucial part of the system.
We're talking with Matthew McCarthy, Judge Matthew McCarthy, the acting Superintendent County Court Judge and Corning City Judge. Going to take a break. We'll be back with Judge Matthew McCarthy in just a moment.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Checking the opening weekend in the NFL on Sunday Night Football, the Packers rallied to beat the Bears 24-23. Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers was carted off the field in the first half, returned in the second half to throw 3 fourth-quarter touchdown passes in the win. In late action, the Chiefs get 4 touchdown passes from young quarterback Patrick Mahomes in a 38-28 win over the Chargers. Broncos beat the Seahawks 27-24. Panthers take care of the Cowboys 16-8, and the Redskins down the Cardinals 24-6. In early action, Patriots topped the Texans 27-20. Tom Brady 3 first-half touchdown passes in the win for New England. Vikings beat the 49ers 24-16. Buccaneers get 4 touchdown passes from quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick and a touchdown run in a 48-40 win in New Orleans over the Saints. Steelers and Browns played to a 21-21 tie. Dolphins beat the Titans 27-20. It was the Bengals over the Colts 34-23. Jaguars down the Giants 20-15, and the Ravens roll over the Bills 47-3.
Hi, Kevin Harlan from Westwood One with a preview of the Week 1 NFL Monday Night doubleheader. In Game 1, Ian Eagle and James Lofton will have the call from Detroit as the Lions take on the Jets. Then Kurt Warner and I will be in Oakland as the Raiders and new head coach John Gruden host the LA Rams. Join us for an exciting doubleheader and hear the NFL all season long from Westwood One.
Tonight at 6:30, the Detroit Lions host the New York Jets. Tonight at 9:45, the Oakland Raiders host the Los Angeles Rams. The NFL on Westwood One on AM 1480 WLEA.
From the Fox Business Network, CBS Chairman and Chief Executive Les Moonves has resigned following new sexual misconduct allegations against him. Moonves will step down immediately, and the company says he will receive no severance unless an independent investigation clears him of the allegations. And CBS and Moonves will donate $20 million to one or more organizations that support the Me Too movement and equality for women in the workplace. Apple says new tariffs the U.S. has proposed on imports from China would impact prices of its watch, wireless headphones, and other products. It didn't reveal the impact on iPhones. President Trump responded over the weekend in a tweet saying Apple should make the devices in the U.S. rather than China. The Dow was down 79 Friday, NASDAQ dropped 20, S&P down 6. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
Doctor, award-winning chief medical correspondent, and Salon Pass user, Dr. Bob Arnott.
For pain relief, the best solution may surprise you. I found that Salon Pa's Lidocaine Plus works best for my pain. It's powerful, available without a prescription, and uses 2 anesthetics to numb nerves right where it hurts. It starts to work on contact, providing effective, lasting pain relief I can count on.
Salon Pass, in the silver box with the blue wave.
The Ryan Agency supports local students and athletes. They appreciate dedication, teamwork, and hometown pride. That's why they give back, sponsoring many youth academic and sports activities. Contact the Ryan Agencies today, your hometown supporter and source for all things insurance.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
On this Newsmaker segment, it's Judge Matthew McCarthy, the acting Steuben County Court Judge and Corning City Judge. I wanted to ask you this. The slowness of bureaucracy in the judicial system. This is a complaint everywhere from all your cop TV shows to your real-life newscasts where they interview everyone from the attorneys and the judges to the suspects. The slowness of the judicial system. Wondering, do you find, Judge McCarthy, has that sped up at all with online technology being what it is in 2018? Meaning, is it a lot faster now with all these documents being online and quickly accessed? Does that speed up the judicial system at all?
I'm not sure if it's the online filing that sped up the system. that might be part of it. We do have new computer systems that are coming into play, which is, they call it the unified court system, but quite honestly, it's been anything but unified over the years. So there is new systems, and family court has what they call a UCMS system. They've operated on for years, which kind of ties everything together, and it's very easy to search and bring up information, and so it does speed up the process. The city courts have just transitioned over to the UCMS system, which works hand in hand again with the family court, and over the next several years, the expectation will be that the county courts will also go to that, and more of these systems will be paperless. One of the things that's really affected the procedures that have gone on here in all of New York State and Steuben County is that the chief judge in New York, Judge DeForio, who has came down with an edict saying she wanted to have standards and goals followed. She wanted to make sure the cases were moving through the court systems appropriately and in a timely fashion. And so there are reports that are regularly done now that were not done in the past that go up to administrative judges who review individual courts and evaluate their performance to make sure they're hitting the marks that are necessary to make sure the cases are being handled in a timely fashion. And I take great pride in the fact that my court here in Corning, as well as my numbers at the county level and family court level, have fallen well below what is necessary. So my standards and goals have been exceptional, and I've been able to take great pride in that fact that I'm providing justice in a timely manner.
Judge Matthew McCarthy, he's been our guest in these two segments on the Newsmaker show. He's going to be in a primary coming up on Thursday, September 13th, and running against Bath Village Justice Chauncey Watches, and they're both in a primary against each other for the same position, the Judge Peter Bradstreet seat. Judge McCarthy, down to the last 2 or 3 minutes, wondering, was there anything I didn't bring up that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I think you actually did an excellent job, because one of the most difficult things to do is to interview a judicial candidate and make it interesting, and you asked some great questions, so I appreciate that. As judges, we are very tied by the rules of what we can answer, because, again, each case that comes before us is an individual case and needs to be evaluated as such. And so we don't make promises on how we will handle matters besides being fair, honest, and compassionate. Those types of issues, an impartial person to hear these matters is what the public deserves and what they demand. And on Thursday, I'm obviously hoping to be successful in the primary, but I also know that Chauncey Watch is a fantastic person. He's a good family man, and he's run a very good campaign, clean campaign, and so I really appreciate that from the other side, because that's what Steuben County demands and deserves. They deserve a judge who is going to be fair, impartial, and compassionate to individuals, someone who knows the law, will work hard to resolve the cases in a timely manner. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to continue to do that for Steuben County if I'm successful on September 13th, the primary day. Additionally, I'm just thrilled with the folks who have come out and supported me. I can't thank everyone enough, between the New York State Police PBA, the Investigators Association, former Sheriff Dave Cole, as well as numerous attorneys, and also well-respected members of the community. It's just been fantastic, the outpouring of support. And that goes right down to the individuals who took the time this summer just to answer their door, who took me in when it was raining out, the folks who offered me water when it was 95 degrees. It just really brought back my spirit here that Steuben County is a fantastic place to live with fantastic individuals.
Judge Matthew McCarthy, he's in the Thursday, September 13th primary up against Bath Village Justice Chauncey Watches, and whoever gets in there, they're going to have a lot easier time getting into that position than Brett Kavanaugh, that's for sure.
That's a guarantee.
Have you been watching those at all?
I have. You can feel whatever you feel about our process, but the bottom line is when you have someone who has those type of credentials and has reached the level that he's reached, the amount of disrespect that has been shown just from the public in general towards the process. You can dislike an individual, but you have to respect the process. So the fact that we're constantly, there are constant interruptions and things taking place during those hearings, it's just really unfortunate because it's not what this country is about.
Judge Matthew McCarthy, I want to thank you very much for being on Newsmaker.
Thank you very much for having me. I had a great time, and again, I apologize how difficult it must be to prepare for these interviews.
Yeah, we are limited on what we can ask. Thank you so much, Judge.
Thank you. Have a great day.